It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Colorado Rockies. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Sunday to you, wherever you may be. They're wrapping up a homestand, a 7-game stand that has seen the Dodgers split the previous 6. Also, the Dodgers, normally playing exceptionally well at home, have come back to ground. They have lost 3 of the last 4 games played here at Dodger Stadium. Colorado, who came here with an 11-game losing streak, has a slight edge. They've won 2 of 3, but the Dodgers have still beaten them 6 of 8 this year. For the Dodgers, it'll be Mike Bolsinger on the mound. Picked up a victory last time out, going 5 2/3 innings against Miami. And for Colorado, Kyle Kendrick, he is 1-4 with the league this year, 5-7 lifetime with the Dodgers. Colorado goes home and opens up with Philadelphia tomorrow night. The Dodgers have the night off, and then tomorrow leave for San Francisco. Talking about San Francisco, the Giants are 4.5 games behind the Dodgers. It'll be Carlos Frias in the first game. That'll be against Tim Hudson. Second game, Brett Anderson. He'll draw Tim Lincecum, and then Thursday afternoon they'll be matched up again. Clayton Kershaw versus Madison Bumgarner. So those are some of the notes. Sit back, relax. We got a good ball game coming up and a whole lot more right after this. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Sunday afternoon to you. Welcome to Dodger Stadium. We have a pleasant Sunday afternoon right here. A little cloudy overhead, but it does not appear to be carrying any rain that might interrupt the proceedings. And the proceedings continue as usual as the Dodgers individually sign a youngster assigned to that position. And then the little peanuts will run off the field, and we'll all love every movement they make as they leave. For the Colorado Rockies, it's suddenly not just another game. You know, the Rockies have not won 2 straight against the Dodgers since September of last year. They haven't won 2 straight at Dodger Stadium since back in 2013, and they've not won a 4-game series against the Dodgers since August of 1993, their first year in existence. So let's take a look at the lineup. Charlie Blackmon leading off in left field. Rafael Inoa will be coming up playing second base, just called up from the minors. Carlos Gonzalez in right. Nolan Arenado at third base. Willen Rosario at first. Nick Hundley goes behind the plate. Drew Stubbs in center field. Remember, Corey Dickerson with the plantar fasciitis, so he had to come out last night. He will not be able to play. Then you have Daniel Descalso, who has given the Dodgers a bad time, replacing Troy Tulowitzki, and on the mound, Kyle Kendrick. On the mound, Mike Bolsinger for the Dodgers. Bolsinger picked up a victory against Miami the other night, going 5 2/3 innings. He allowed just 1 run while he was in there. So Bolsinger will put it on the line, and starting off against him will be Charlie Blackmon. Blackmon, very talented left-hand hitter, plays well in the outfield, runs well, fouls a bunt attempt off, and the count 0-1. Blackmon at Dodger Stadium has found a home. He's batting .313 here at Dodger Stadium. He's done very well against right-hand pitching, hitting .326, and he's right around .290. Here's the pitch from Bolsinger, a stiff half swing for a strike, and the count 0-2. For the Rockies, with a record of 11-20 in the 31 games, Blackmon has reached base in all but 5. So Charlie waiting. Bolsinger on the rubber comes right back 0-2 with a changeup away, and the count 1-2 strikes. The Dodgers have certainly had their way with the Rockies. They've beaten them here 8 out of 10, 9 of 11, 10 out of 12. The 1-2 pitch fouled away off to the left and out of play. The Dodgers this year have won 6 of 8, and Blackmon will be followed by Inoa and then Gonzalez. One ball and 2 strikes they count. Mike Bolsinger ready, right-handed delivers, bad ball outside, chased and missed. A changeup, and I guess to Blackmon that looked like a basketball and he couldn't resist. So a straight change off the plate, and Blackmon chases it, and down he goes. So 1 out, and Rafael Inoa coming up. He was optioned Thursday to AAA Albuquerque, and then he was recalled yesterday. He's done a good job as a pinch hitter, and now he's in there playing at second base. Bolsinger over the top, flips it in there nicely for a strike, and the count 0-1. LeMahieu, who normally would be playing second base, has really been struggling. The next pitch is off the plate. LeMahieu ranks 3rd against right-hand pitchers, but he sits this one out. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Inoa hits a soft line drive right at third base. Justin Turner there to handle it, and we have 2 down. Let's take a look at the Dodgers with the leather with 2 out in the first inning. It's Gonzalez and Kendrick, Rollins and Turner, Guerrero, Peterson and Ethier, and the battery of Mike Bolsinger and Yasmani Grandal. So here is Carlos Gonzalez. Gonzalez last night, a first inning home run and a base hit in the 8th. The game before, he had 1 hit. And the game before that, Gonzalez had a home run in the 9th inning to beat the Dodgers. He takes ball 1. Interesting to look at the Colorado hitters and the big difference between hitting in Denver and on the road. Check swing, foul tip for a strike. For instance, Charlie Blackmon was hitting .333 at home, .252 on the road. Gonzalez, .324 at home, .257 on the road. He takes off the plate. Arenado, .297 at home, .259 on the road. LeMahieu, .318 at home, .246 on the road. Now the 2-1 pitch on the way. Ground ball to the right of Kendrick. He goes back to get it, comes up with it, and throws him out. Nice play by Howie. So Gonzalez losing a base hit, and the Rockies go 1-2-3. So Kyle Kendrick up the steps and heading for the mound, and at the end of half an inning, no score. First inning, though we go to the bottom of the first inning and we can take a look at Don Mattingly's lineup card. By the way, congratulations to Don Mattingly. He has been named as an all-star coach by the manager Bruce Bochy. And here's the skipper's card. Jock Peterson in center field, Jimmy Rollins at short, Howie Kendrick at second, Adrian Gonzalez hits cleanup at first base. Justin Turner at third, Yasmani Grandal, the catcher, Andre Ethier in right field, Alex Guerrero in left, and Mike Bolsinger on the mound. On the mound for Colorado, Kyle Kendrick, who has spent his entire pro career with the Philadelphia Phillies and their organization, but he moves over to Colorado, and the right-hander ready to make his first pitch against Jock Peterson. Jock takes down and away, ball 1, 1-0. Peterson is trying to adjust. That's all part of it when you come up. You make a splash, then the pitchers talk, then they find out weak spots, and they've been exploiting it so that Jock is hitting .241. He takes off the plate again. 2 balls and no strikes. Peterson has done well in getting the walks, 28, but he strikes out about 38% of his swings. He misses the pitch, though he struck out 45 times. This time he hits one to center. That'll be right in the glove of Drew Stubbs. So 1 out, bottom of the first inning, and Jimmy Rollins will be coming up. Jimmy Rollins. We can set Colorado. Willen Rosario at first, Rafael Enoa at second, Daniel Descalso at short, Nolan Arenado at third. Then you have Charlie Blackmon, Drew Stubbs, and Carlos Gonzalez in right. Nick Hundley behind the plate. Jimmy Rollins hitting the ball hard. He's on the rise. 200 doesn't look like much, but the last 5 games he has been hitting .400 and takes the first pitch for a strike. hitting left-handed, and the defense loads up against him on the right side. Arenado has to defend against a bunt, so he's on the edge of the grass at third. Kendrick ready. Kyle, strike one. Pitch is a little low, 1-1. Opening day back in April, Kendrick was given 4 runs in the first inning in Milwaukee and had 2 strikes on 11 of the first 16 hitters through the first 4 innings. Kyle ready and comes back 1-1. A little nubber halfway out, picked up by Kendrick, who fires to first in time for the out. So Rollins taps out, 2 down, and the batter will be Howie Kendrick. A couple of notes as we look at Kendrick on TV. In his start on April the 11th, the very first pitch he delivered was hit for a triple by Dexter Fowler, and Fowler tripled again in his next at-bat. In 5 forgettable innings, Kendrick allowed 2 triples, 3 home runs, and 8 runs. So right now Kyle is pitching to Howie, and the pitch down and away, ball 1. Last year, Kendrick had a terrible time in the first inning. Kyle's earned run average was over 8. 1 ball and no strikes the count. Kyle ready. Howie looks, and that's off the plate. Ball 2, 2-0. Howie hitting .314, up there with 2 down, first inning, no score. Kyle Kendrick, 6'3", 210, out of Houston, Texas, lives in Mount Vernon, Washington, and this time fires and misses, and he's behind 3-0. He's pretty consistent in his career. At home, an ERA of 4.47. On the road, 4.40. 39-37 at home, 36-32 on the road, and he gets the 3-0 pitch in there. Not too much difference as far as rest. On 4 days rest, ERA 4.3. 5 days rest, 4.4. 6 days rest, 4.4. So that's Kyle Kendrick. Right-hander ready in the 3-1 pitch. Howie swings and hits it foul down the right field line into the seats. So Howie is up there against a fellow who has won in double figures 6 times, but never more than 11 games. And almost all the time, he has lost more games than he won. So they stayed with Kendrick, did the Phillies. He was a 7th-round pick, very good athlete, very good quarterback and punter in high school. So Kyle looks in. Howie's tired of waiting and backs out. 3-2 the count. Kendrick looks down the barrel to Reed Hundley. Now the right-hander ready, and the 3-2 pitch on the way. Howie takes high, ball 4.
First baseman number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
So Jimmy Rollins draws the walk. Rollins, of course, when you think about it, 220 home runs, 900 runs batted in. Today hit the ball back to the box. But Rollins slowly but surely emerging from the early season struggle. So now, with Howie Kendrick aboard, Adrian Gonzalez checks in. Adrian putting up big numbers, hitting .356. Kendrick set, delivers, and the first pitch a strike, and the count 0-1. Kind of a diamond defense now. Rosario is on the bag. Descalso way over to the left, but not beyond second base. The second baseman, Inoa, 5 to 6 feet out on the grass in right field. The outfield, they give Gonzalez all of straightaway left. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Adrian swings and doesn't get it. And the count, no balls in, 2 strikes. Gonzalez, 9 home runs, 32 runs batted in. The Dodgers have a record of 23-13. So this is the 37th game, and Gonzalez has played in 36 of them. So Adrian Waite hitting behind him is Justin Turner. Kyle Kendrick ready. And the right-hander looks over at Howie, comes very high. 1-2 the count. Kendrick 1-4 against the league and 5-7 lifetime against the Dodgers. No score, bottom of the first inning. The Giants are in a slugfest in Cincinnati. The last we heard, Giants are leading 8-7. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Gonzalez waits and a throw to first instead. That was a game where the Giants jumped out in front 6-1. There was about an hour's rain delay, and Heston, the Giant pitcher, came back and was just not ready. And the Reds got up close 6-5. Now it's 9-7 Giants, top of the 8th inning. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Gonzalez waits. Kendrick set. Looking over at Howie Kendrick, and the pitch is hit down the left field line, slicing in the corner and goes foul. It reached the seats, but it was just foul of the left field foul pole. And always remember, it's a misnomer. They are not foul poles, they are fair poles. They are not foul lines, they are fair lines. You hit either one and the ball is legitimate. You hit the foul line, so-called foul pole, that's a home run. He just came close to it. So 1-2 the count to Adrian. Kendrick has allowed, would you believe it, 10 home runs this year. 10. Here's the 1-2 pitch coming up. Right-handed delivers, and that's fouled away off to the left. So in 40 innings, Kyle Kendrick has allowed 10 home runs. That's shocking at this early stage of the year. And he's pitching in Colorado. One ball and 2 strikes the count. Adrian 7 for 15 against Kyle Kendrick in their battles. Now the 1-2 pitch, and it's fouled away. 7 for 15. That's a .467 lifetime batting average. Though Adrian has had it all over Kyle Kendrick. 2 down, first inning, no score. Noah deeper now on the grass at second base. Adrian waiting on the 1-2 pitch. Kendrick looks over at Howie Kendrick at first. Now the pitch, and Adrian takes very high. 2-2 the count. Nice day here in the ballpark. 66 degrees, a very light breeze blowing left to right. And if you are sensitive to the sun, and really we all are, it's an ideal day because we have a nice cloud covering. 2-2 pitch on the way. Kyle Kendrick set and works the plate inside to Adrian. 3-2 the count. So the Dodgers with 2 down had Howie Kendrick walk. They're not going to hold him. Rosario is off the bag directly behind Kendrick. Kyle Kendrick ready to pitch to Adrian. Howie goes, and the pitch foul back. So they'll have to try it again. Big story today was Atlanta and Miami. The Braves beat the Marlins 6-0. Shelby Miller had a no-hit bid in the 9th inning with 2 out, bases empty, and a single up the middle by Justin Bour, who came into the game late, broke it up. Miller threw a first pitch strike to 26 of 29 batters. Bour got the hit on the first pitch, and for Shelby, that was only the 89th pitch of the day. So near and yet so far. 3-2 the count. Kyle Kendrick ready. Gonzalez waits. Right-handed delivers, and there's a high fly ball to deep center. Stubbs going back, turns on the track, and makes the catch 2 steps from the center field wall. One other thought, the last Braves no-hitter was right here 21 years ago. Left-hander Kent Mercker. No runs, no hits, a man left at the end of an inning, no score. The ball game, the Dodgers and the Rockies. It'll be Nolan Arenado, then Willen Rosario and Nick Hundley. Arenado, the wizard at third base, has a 9-game hitting streak here at Dodger Stadium. Arenado, as he checks in, hitting .289. Right-hand hitter, takes a pitch high, ball one. Arenado, not only a big man with the glove, he leads the Rockies in home runs with 7. And he also has 19 RBIs. He's the big man. Nolan takes a pitch low, though Bolsinger falling behind 2-0. What the Dodgers need right now from Bolsinger is to give him a bunch of innings. 2-0 pitch on the way. Line drive, foul down the left field line. Other than Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke, the other Dodger starters have gone 6+ innings. Only 6 out of 20 starts. Just the other way, they'll burn up the bullpen at that rate. The Bolsinger, who went 5 2/3 last time, trying to improve and give the Dodgers more innings today. 2-1 pitch in there. 2-2 the count. Arenado, then Rosario and Hundley. No score, second inning. Bolsinger over the top, big chopper to third, backing up for a hop. Justin Turner throws him out, and we have one down. A little while ago, we talked about the heartbreak of Shelby Miller pitching a no-hitter, 2 out in the 9th inning, and then giving up the base hit. Shelby Miller pitched for the St. Louis Cardinals before the deal that sent Justin Hayward to St. Louis. Miller gave up a base hit to Eric Young, opening up the ball game. That's when Shelby was pitching for St. Louis. Miller got the base hit from Eric Young and then retired 27 in a row. Fly ball to right, that sends Ethier back a wee bit, but not much. And like that, 2 down in the second inning. So Miller, on the last batter, still having a no-hitter, gave it up. And he also turned out to give up a no-hitter to the leadoff man, Shelby Miller, quite a young pitcher. Well, here's Nick Hundley, the catcher. Hundley batting .308, although he has struggled in the series. Hundley the other night in the Anderson game struck out 3 times. Then the next night in the Kershaw game, he struck out twice. So last night, McHenry did the catching. However, Hundley hitting .300, 2 home runs, 9 runs batted in. Kershaw with a towel draped over his shoulder getting ready for a big game on Thursday. The pitching when the Dodgers go to San Francisco: Frias and Hudson Tuesday night, Anderson and Lincecum Wednesday night, and then a rematch. No, not Pacquiao, whatever, and Mayweather. No, we're talking Kershaw and Bumgarner Thursday afternoon at 12:45. 2-1 pitch on the way to Hundley. In the dirt, bouncing away. 3-1 the count. Wasn't that something? The fight of the century turned out to be the fight of the night. No score, second inning. Hundley with Drew Stubbs on deck. Bolsinger just looks in, gets the sign. 3-1 pitch on the way. Hundley takes high, ball 4. By the way, we're first delighted to see Walt Weiss back in control. He suffered the appendectomy in Anaheim the other day. Didn't stay long out of uniform. He was back yesterday. Good to see him. But we're also sorry that we're not able to see last year's batting champion, Justin Morneau. Morneau is on the DL. He banged his head diving at a ball in Anaheim. He's had a history of concussions, and so because of that, Justin is on the DL. The first pitch to Drew Stubbs swung on and missed, and the count 0-1. Stubbs is a terrific athlete, but so far is having trouble even hitting the ball. 43 at-bats, 26 strikeouts. 1-1 the count to Drew. He's playing only because Corey Dickerson aggravated a foot condition on a long fly ball hit by Greinke last night. Plantar fasciitis. The 1-1 pitch on the way, off speed breaking ball for a strike, and the count 1-2. I think the first time I ever heard of plantar fasciitis was Matt Williams, the third baseman for the Giants. I'm sure it's been around a long time. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Next, the fastball is in there, so Stubbs strikes out, and I hate to say it for his sake, but he strikes out again. And at the end of an inning and a half, the Rockies nothing and the Dodgers nothing. No score in the ball game. Bolsinger has made 27 pitches in his first 2 innings, allowing 1 walk to Hundley. Meanwhile, Kyle Kendrick, working his first inning, walked Howie Kendrick and got out of it after Gonzalez almost hit a home run to left and eventually lined out to deep center. So Turner, Grandal, and Ethier coming up. Bottom of the second inning, no score. Nice crowd on hand. Beautiful day. Some tears in the sky, patched with blue. And a little more sunlight than we had the first 2 innings. The light breeze still a little different, blowing from right to left, normally the other way. First pitch to Turner. He has a look and pays a strike, and the count 0-1. Kyle Kendrick on the mound. When he was with the Phillies, pretty much of a raw kid back 7 years ago. They played a terrific trick on him. Of course, the team thought it was a great trick. Strike one pitch is in there. It was in spring training, and they convinced him, Kendrick, that he had to be on a 7:05 Delta Airlines flight the next day, connecting in Atlanta for a 14-hour trip to Tokyo. He had been sold to the Yomiuri Giants. Here's the strike 2 pitch, and that's in the dirt. The accomplices that really made the trick seem real, the assistant general manager at the time, Ruben Amaro, the manager, Charlie Manuel, the director of team travel, the clubhouse service, everybody pretty much convinced him that he'd been sold to Japan, and he was shocked. The 1-2 pitch on the way. Kyle delivers. Turner swings and bangs it into left field for a base hit. So Turner leading off with the single, and the batter will be Yasmani Grandal. Grandal has really taken over behind the plate. In the month of May, he's hitting .447. Jason Kipnick's at Cleveland, top dog, then D. Gordon, but then Yasmani and Gerardo Parra. The Grandal, with all of that good hitting, has brought his average up to .297, hitting .295 left with power, 4 home runs, and .308 right-handed. Kendrick delivers. Yasmani takes a strike, and the count 0-1. No balls, 1 strike. Turner at first, nobody out. Second inning, no score. Kyle Kendrick ready, and his strike 1 pitch to Grandal. Still looking over at Turner. Still looking. Now to the plate. Swung on and missed. They called Kendrick in just to conclude the story. Took a seat in Charlie Manuel's office. The manager and Amaro explained he'd been traded to Japan. Well, he didn't know that a major leaguer can't be traded to Japan. He didn't notice or even care that there were TV cameras grinding away either. No balls and 2 strikes the count. Kendrick delivers low and inside, ball 1. They also handed Kendrick a flight schedule, and they explained, trying to keep a straight face, they tried to get him a layover for a night in Seattle. He's from Washington, but they couldn't do it because the Japanese team needed him to arrive immediately. So he was stunned, staggered out of the office. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way. Kyle delivers off the plate, 2 balls and 2 strikes. So Kendrick grabbed the cell phone, walked out like any professional ball player. He was going to call, no, not home, his agent, of course. And the agent went right along with it, telling him, hey, it's a chance to make more money. It's going to be a big deal. I mean, they really hooked him. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way. Kyle's pitch is fouled away off to the left, out of play. So finally the story unraveled, and Kendrick heaved a big high sigh of relief. However, a couple of years later, some bad news. Thieves burglarized his apartment, and they stole his World Series ring, among other things. They made several arrests. A lot of his belongings were recovered, and they found the ring as well. 2 balls and 2 strikes. There goes the runner, and the pitch fouled away. So Turner, breaking loose on the delivery, slides into second base, and now he'll have to go back and try it again. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Yasmani Grandal. You have Turner at first. No score, second inning. Final game of the 4-game series. means the Dodgers not only have played the Rockies 9 times already, the first 3 days in June, the Dodgers will be on the road in Colorado. So they'll finish 12 meetings by June 3rd with the Rockies. It's not always easy to finish games in Colorado because of the weather. The Giants will play the Dodgers next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but then the Giants will go to Colorado to face Walt Weiss and his ball club, and they have, among other things, a day and night schedule. Not a doubleheader, 2 admissions. Grandal lifting one back to second base, shallow center, coming in for it, Stubbs, waiting, and makes the catch. So Grandal, fly ball to shallow center, 1 away, and Andre Ethier coming up. Andre Ethier hitting .326 with 5 home runs, 14 runs batted in. Kyle Kendrick with a record of 1-4, 5-7 lifetime against the Dodgers. So Ethier checking in with 1 out. On deck, Alex Guerrero. Kendrick out of his stretch. Another look over at Turner, who was running a moment ago. And the first pitch to Ethier is off the plate. Ball 1, 1-0. Andre Ethier has been a savior in right field. Yasiel Puig went down, and the Dodgers didn't miss a beat. All because of Andre Ethier. The veteran on the club, hard to believe. It's his 10th big league season, the longest tenured Dodger. With Turner going, the throw down nails him easily as Nick Hundley throws him out, but Hundley also forgot how many outs there were. So when he got Turner, Hundley immediately whirled and started to run over to the Colorado dugout. So Turner is nailed, 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Here's the play. Hundley fires. There's the tag. And then it's see you later for Hundley. So that's what he thought was the 3rd out. And as we said, he took off towards the dugout. And he said, no. You're the catcher. You got to know that was the 2nd out. So a little embarrassed, Ethier standing beside Hundley. They're taking another look at the play, and the Dodgers are on the phone, and Tim Wallach now will shake his head, I believe no. Mattingly started up the steps, and now the umpires are going to converge in the area in front of the Dodger dugout. So going in hands first was Turner, tag on the ribs, but the extended arm and the hand might have been on the bag. So timeout while the umpires look. We have often used the replay system for the challenges as a tribute to the umpires, and I mean that completely. The plays are so close. They are excruciatingly close, and most of the time, despite all the high tech that we have, the umpire call is right. So that's a tough one. The arm, the left arm extended. The tag coming down, brought down by Descalso. The crowd reacts thinking that the hand beat the tag on the ribs. So we'll see. In fact, Descalso reaching, then brought the hand back. So the tag was almost on Justin Turner's armpit. And the hand would appear to have been on the bag, but really a tough call. So each time they show it from a different angle, it looks like Turner's hand might have beaten the tag. And we will see. Messrs. Marty Foster, Mike Muchlinski, Mike Winters, and Mark Wagner. Winters, the crew chief. And we will see in a minute. And he's out. Okay. So Justin Turner is thrown out. And we have 2 down in the inning. Andre Ethier will now pick up the slack, get back in the box. A little embarrassed, Nick Hundley. Might have thought there were 3 outs, but at least he made a great throw for the 2nd out. So Ethier back up there, 1 ball and 1 strike. Kyle Kendrick in a scoreless battle in the 2nd inning. Right-handed delivers, swung on and missed, and the count 1-2. Ethier knows the book certainly on Kendrick. Fastball, circle change, slider, and a cutter. And the fastball down and in. Andre getting out of the way of it. 2-2 the count. His 2-seamer gets up to 92. The 4-seamer has been clocked as high as 94. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way to Andre Ethier. Kyle Kendrick delivers as a one-hopper backhanded on the grass by Anoa to throw him out. So the Dodgers get a leadoff single from Turner, who's thrown out trying to steal. And at the end of 2, it's the Dodgers nothing and the Rockies nothing. Own Tommy Lasorda Garden Gnome, presented by Chef Marito Seasonings. Get yours May 25th. Dodgers and Braves at 5:10. Go to Dodgers.com/promotions. Daniel Descalso. The Cardinals have been giving the Dodgers a bad time for quite a few years, and Daniel Descalso, as a former Cardinal, continues to plague the Dodgers now that Tulowitzki can't play. And Daniel's done a very good job at shortstop. Last night, he had a single and a 2-run home run. That changed a 1-0 game to a 3-0 game as Tulo looked on. And the night before, he came in to relieve Tulowitzki and had a double, a single, a stolen base, and 3 RBIs. So Daniel Descalso, as far as the Dodgers are concerned, he's a Cardinal and he's a pain in the neck. 2-1 the count. Bolsinger delivers, swung on and missed. 2-2. Interesting that what's going on in Cincinnati. They're in the 9th inning. The Giants at one time led 6-1. Giants now lead 9-8 in the top of the 9th inning. 2-2 pitch on the way, very high. Brandon Belt's last home run coming into this weekend in Cincinnati was a dramatic 18th inning game winner against Washington in the playoffs last year. The pitch of the plate is a line drive base hit, so Descalso continues to wear the Dodgers out with a base hit to lead off the 3rd inning.
Pitcher, number 38.
Let's get back to Brandon Belt. He went the first 30 games this year without a home run, but he homered on Friday in Cincinnati. Then he homered on Saturday in Cincinnati, and he homered again today. And Brandon Belt has 3 hits each day as well. So because of Belt, the Giants are staggering to that 9-8 lead. Hunter Pence, who just came off the DL, he also hit a home run today. So here's Kendrick. Dodgers look bunt. Kyle, right-hand batter, shows bunt. Bolsinger set, checks first, and then backs off the rubber. Descalso is 1 for 1 in stolen base attempts. Kendrick has 1 bunt sacrifice. And with the runner going, the pitch missed. The throw down, and Descalso is out. The tag by Jimmy Rollins. So it was bunt and run, and Kendrick missed the bunt. So a nice strong throw by Yasmani Grandal to hang him out to dry. Jimmy Rollins, with a right-hand batter, nevertheless went over to cover. In a bunt situation, the second baseman is on the move to cover first. That's why the shortstop, with a right-hand batter in this instance, was covering. The next one, little chop out in front of the plate. Grandal picks it up, throws in wild over the head of Adrian Gonzalez and down the line. However, let's see. I believe they're going to call Kendrick out for running inside the 45-foot lane. You can't do that. Walt Weiss is coming out. The plate umpire, Marty Foster, he saw it immediately. He gestured that Kendrick is out. That made the throw by Grandal impossible. Now Walt Weiss going out to talk. That's why they have that 45-foot lane. You have to run between the lines. He was on the grass all the way. That's why it was an impossible throw. Weiss realizes it, walks away, and Kendrick is out. And we'll make the play 2-3. So 2 out in the third inning. Bases empty, and Charlie Blackmon coming up. Yeah, a lot of times people will come to the ballpark not familiar with that much of the game, and they'll look down and say, that's nice to have those parallel lines. Wonder what they're for. Well, they're for you to run between those lines. Otherwise, the catcher has a tremendous disadvantage, and you run on the grass, you are going to be called out. 0-1 to count to Blackmon, who struck out in the first inning. Bolsinger comes back away, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Mike Bolsinger trying to give the Dodgers a bunch of innings today, give the bullpen a rest, gets a strike. Last night, in losing, the Dodgers went to the bullpen a couple of times. In the Kershaw game, the Dodgers went to the bullpen 5 times. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Swung on and missed, tagged at the plate. Blackmon strikes out a second time. And for Colorado, no runs, 1 hit, nobody left. And at the end of 2.5 innings, no score. Bottom of the third inning, no score in the ball game. The Dodgers will have Alex Guerrero, Mike Bolsinger, and Jock Peterson, and the kids are here, and we are so happy to see them. Even the junior kids. Sure, Mom. That's the way to break them in at a Dodger ball game. We can also tell you it was the top of the ninth inning in Cincinnati. The Giants had the bases loaded, 2 out. Aroldis Chapman, the hard thrower, was the mound for Cincinnati, and the batter, Buster Posey. And Posey popped out. So they go to the bottom of the ninth. Giants trying to hold on to a 9-8 lead. Guerrero, a long fly ball, but very playable. Stubbs is right there and makes the catch right on the edge of the grass in center field. So 1 out in the third. Guerrero, who had 5 home runs in his first 22 at-bats, has 1 in his last 38 at-bats. The old story, pitchers talk. They'll find a way to get you out. So here's Bolsinger. And then on deck, Jock Peterson. No score, each side with 1 hit. Fastball hit by the mound. Coming up for it is Descalso, and Daniel makes the play. 2 out in the third, no score. Justin Turner singled for the Dodgers in the second inning, leading off. Bud was thrown out trying to steal. Descalso singled and was nailed in the third inning. And that's it. Jock Peterson hit the ball hard, but lined out to center. Jock with 10 home runs. Last we looked, Bryce Harper had 13. However, Peterson's average down, down, down. He's looking for up periscope. His average now at 239. Kendrick delivers, high fastball, ball 1, 1-0. It is amazing. They all get the acid test. All the bright young ones come up. They just raise Cain with base hits and home runs. And then the pitchers get to talking. And the next thing you know, you hit a little ground ball to first. And you're now below 239. And the Dodgers are done quickly in the third inning. And at the end of 3, after a 4-pitch inning by Kendrick, no score. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. With an EPA estimated 30 highway MPG, this car was made for driving in California. Visit Dodge.com today. 4th inning, no score in the ball game. We can tell you that the Giants held on and defeated Cincinnati 9-8. Santiago Casilla came in and struck out the side. Marlon Byrd, Brandon Phillips, and Jay Bruce. And the Giants win at 9-8. Inoa takes ball one. So the Giants have now won 3 in a row. For the moment, they're 4 games behind the Dodgers. It also means the Giants finally got to the 500 mark on the road. They're 9-9, 11-9 at home. The 1-0 pitch, a strike. Rafael Inoa facing Mike Bolsinger. Inoa lined out to Justin Turner. Switch hitter batting left-handed. 2-1 the count to Rafael. The Dodgers at one time had Inoa, and he grounds one to short. Rollins fires over just in time. Inoa runs very well.
Number 5, Carlos Gonzalez.
Carlos Gonzalez coming up. He grounded out to second, 0 for 1. We're in the 4th inning, no score, each side with 1 hit. Just to make it a little interesting, the Giants have already won. They'll fly home, as the Dodgers will rest as well tomorrow, and then they'll bang heads Tuesday night at AT&T Park. Strike. The pitching for that upcoming Giants series, Carlos Frias will pitch against Tim Hudson Tuesday evening. Strike 1 pitch outside. Then Wednesday evening, Brett Anderson will face Tim Lincecum. And then Thursday afternoon, it'll be anything but a matinee, even though it's a 12:45 game. Kershaw and Bumgarner. Meanwhile, Gonzalez taps to second, 2 out.
Number 28, Nolan Arenado.
That brings up Nolan Arenado, the third baseman, grounded to third in the 2nd inning. No score in the 4th. Pitching duel between Bolsinger and Kendrick. Last night, a very tough defeat for Zach Greinke. In the worst kind of a defeat. After all, Greinke was 5-0. He was 10-0 since he had last lost to Milwaukee last summer. And he gave up a home run to Gonzalez in the 1st inning, and that's it. He went 6 innings, trailing 1-0. Then he comes out. Colorado scores a bunch of runs, beats the Dodgers 7-1, and Greinke takes the bitter defeat. 1 ball and 1 strike to Nolan Arenado, the lad from Lake Forest. And he is promptly hit by the pitch. So Arenado, for the 2nd time this year, hit by the pitch. And the batter will be Willen Rosario. Not much Arenado could do about that but take it. And Rosario will fly to right field in the 2nd inning coming up. Arenado does not have a stolen base, held on by Adrian Gonzalez. Rosario hit his home run to right field. And this time pops it up on the infield behind second base. It will be Rollins. And that's the end of that. Rollins catching it, staggered back a bit. So down go the Rockies. No runs, no hits. A man hit and left. And at the end of 3.5 innings, Rollins, Kendrick, and Gonzalez coming up. No score. in a hurry, and how many years ago I said it about Bob Gibson, like he pitched like he was double parked. It seemed like he was in a hurry. Well, Willen Rosario at first base hits like he is double parked. Rosario has put the first pitch in play 4 times in the last 2 days. He doesn't hang around. Meanwhile, we go into the bottom of the 4th, and Jimmy Rollins to start it off. All you have to know about Rollins is the fact that he has not only played long, he has played very, very well. Since 1947, the only players to have played more than 90% of their games at short knocked in 900 runs. Who are they? Derek Jeter and Alan Trammell, Barry Larkin and Omar Vizquel, Edgar Renteria, and Jimmy Rollins. 1 ball and no strikes. That's a strike. Rollins with the load on the right side hit back to the box. One ball, 1 strike. And popped in the air. Coming back is Descalso from the second base side of the bag to make the catch. 1 out in the 4th. Howie Kendrick coming up. Kyle Kendrick went 7 innings, giving up 2 earned runs in a game the Rockies lost to the Angels on Tuesday. But he is capable of pitching a good game, and he's doing it right now. Kendrick walked in the 1st inning. And a strike. Kyle facing Howie. Ground foul outside of 3rd. 0-2 the count to Howie Kendrick. Howie, a pro since 2002, so he's got a lot of baseball under his belt. Came up with the Angels back in 2006. He's had a 5-hit game a couple of years ago against Tampa Bay. 0-2 to Howie. Ground ball to short, Descalso. So 2 out here in the 4th inning. No score in the ball game. Each side with 1 hit. Adrian Gonzalez coming up against Kendrick. He stepped in with a .467 batting average with 4 extra base hits, and he hit one that just missed and went foul, avoiding the left field foul pole, and eventually lined out to center. Ball 1. So in Adrian's spot, he can go the other way. Nolan Arenado is in the hole at short. They have the second baseman 10 feet out on the grass, and Descalso lined up not quite behind second, and Gonzalez finds a hole and lines a single to right center field. So with 2 out, Gonzalez a base hit, and the batter will be Justin Turner. So the Dodgers now no runs, 2 hits. Colorado no runs, 1 hit. Turner singled a left, but was thrown out trying to steal. Very close play. There was a challenge. The umpires looked at it and ruled the call was correct. Second base umpire Mike Winters is the crew chief. And Turner takes ball 1. Marty Foster is the plate umpire. Marty's been umpiring 16 years in the big leagues. He was born in Denver, but he lives in Wisconsin. Started umpiring in a Denver summer league. That's ball 2. Two balls, no strikes, 2 out. Gonzalez at first. Adrian, short lead at first. Remember the other night he tried to steal third from second base. 2-0. And 3-0. Now Turner, with his power, has 5 home runs, and he has only struck out 11 times. So you wonder in a spot like this whether they might greenlight him 3-0. Three and 1. Looked like he was going to take a shot at that. Didn't like the location. Yasmani Grandal waiting on deck. Three balls, 1 strike. And ball 4. So with 2 out, Gonzalez singles, Turner walks, and the batter will be Grandal. Dodgers have 2 singles and 2 walks. Grandal flied to center in the second inning, hitting .293. Final game of a 4-game series. Dodgers battling for a split. Rockies trying to win 3 out of 4. They haven't won a 4-game series against the Dodgers since the Rockies' first year, 1993. And ball 1. Yasmani a quick look at Lorenzo Bundy coaching at third. Davey Lopes gives him a lot of room over there outside of first base. 1 ball and no strikes. And a foul ball. Grandal, if you know history at all about baseball, when he stands at the plate, he points his bat out towards the pitcher. And if you've been reading up, your first thought is Babe Ruth in the World Series with the Cubs, and did Babe point before he hit the home run or not? Grandal, you could hang your hat on the end of the bat. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ball 2, 2-1. No runs, 1 hit for the Rockies. They have left 2 men. They've had a walk and a hit batter as well as the hit. The Dodgers have 2 singles and 2 walks. Bottom of the 4th inning, no score. Two balls, 1 strike. Two and 2. So deuces wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on. No score in the 4th. Dodgers trying to get well. They've been playing so well at home, but turned around, and during this homestand, Mattingly has seen his club lose 3 of the last 4. And they're going to San Francisco, and he'd certainly like to go up there on the wings of a victory. 2 and 2 to Grandal. Almost hit him. Ball 3. On deck, Andre Ethier. So it's a big pitch with 2 out. The runners will be going. That means Gonzalez from second, Turner from first. Big pitch for Kyle Kendrick. Kind of frozen there for a moment. Kendrick looking, and Grandal pointing with the bat, and then Hundley decides to go out and talk to his pitcher. At the same time, Daniel Descalso wants to know what pitch is coming up. It's good to know if you're an infielder. Is it going to be a fastball or a breaking ball? A lot of times, playing the infield, they can look in and read the catcher's signs. But Descalso came in definitely to know about the pitch. So the runners are going 3-2. No score, 4th inning. And Grandal, a one-hopper by the diving Enor into right field. The run scores and the Dodgers get on the board. And Noah diving at it but couldn't come up with it. And the Dodgers lead 1-0. So Yasmani Grandal, a key base hit, scoring Adrian Gonzalez. And on the play, Turner going to third. And here comes Andre Ethier. So Adrian brings it home. Ethier grounded out in the 2nd inning. He's 0 for 1. So Kendrick gives up 2 hits and a walk here in the 4th inning. Gonzalez scores. Dodgers lead 1-0. Now Ethier is trying to pick up Turner from third. Randall picking up his 17th run batted in. Ball 1. Ethier 0 for 1, batting .323. Turner down the line from third. Randall at first, 2 out. And a high fly ball to left center and deep. Going back for it is Blackman and makes the catch on the track near the wall. However, the Dodgers with 2 hits and a walk. Randall singles in the run. And at the end of 4, Dodgers 1, Rockies nothing. Don't forget, receive your very own stylish Dodgers coaster set presented by Arco. The first 40,000 fans in attendance will get their coaster set when the Dodgers face the Braves Wednesday, May 27th. For more information, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. That'll be the next homestand starting on the weekend of the 22nd. 3 with the Padres and 3 with Atlanta. Kind of shakes people up around here to check the Padres and see that Matt Kemp has 1 home run. Is it Petco Park? Well, it's a big park. It's certainly known as a pitcher's park. But the Padres have also played enough games on the road. They played 19 games away from Petco. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, ball 1 to Nick Hundley. Talking about San Diego, they're leading the Nationals 2-0 in the 4th inning. That's a strike, 1-1. Hundley walked in the 2nd. Catcher hitting .308. A little embarrassed when he threw out Turner in the second inning, thought it was the third out, started to run off the field. Of course, you're not going to be embarrassed when you forget after making a good play, and he made a perfect throw to nail Turner. Bouncer up the middle, and that will find its way into center field. So Hundley a base hit, opening up matters in the fifth inning.
Drew Stubbs.
That's only the second hit given up by Mike Bolsinger. He's also walked a batter and hit a batter. And here's Drew Stubbs. Stubbs struck out. That is not going to make a headline in Denver. Stubbs has struck out 27 times in 44 at-bats. Check swing. They're going to look. No swing. Drew is a terrific athlete. I think anybody watching baseball, watching Stubbs, can't quite figure out what the problem is. Almost hit him. 2 balls and no strikes. Stubbs was a quarterback in high school. He was a member of 2 state relay teams. He played baseball, of course, and he also starred in basketball. The salutatorian of his class when he graduated, named the top English, math, and Spanish student in the school. I mean, he's got all kinds of ability. Originally a first-round pick by the Reds. His very first year, he hit .255. Last year with the Rockies, he hit .289, way inside. Last year with the Rockies, he struck out 136 times. But he can play. There's no two ways about it. 6'4", 200-pounder. Lifting one to right field. Ethier started back. So Stubbs, fly ball to right, 1 out. Hundley holding at first. And Daniel Descalso coming up. Descalso taking advantage of an opportunity. Tulowitzki went down with a tight quad, and Descalso has just done great in the series. 1 for 1 today with a single. Tulowitzki, they say, might play tomorrow night when Colorado is home. They open up their homestand with the Phillies tomorrow evening. And ball 1. 1-0. Descalso a single today, single and a 2-run home run last night, single and double and a stolen base the game before. Dodgers lead 1-0. We're in the 5th. Giants won today 9-8. Dodger lead for the moment 4. Yesterday the celebration of the 1965 team, and I couldn't help remembering what a terrific pennant race that was between the Giants and the Dodgers. Near the end of the season, the Giants made a run. They won 14 straight. And the Dodgers came back and won 13 straight, 15 out of 16. Descalso is at it again, bouncing one into right field, and the throw to third not in time. So Daniel Descalso, wow, he is just giving the Dodgers fits. He's from San Carlos. He went to the University of California, Davis, and he's been putting on a show. Big chopper over the glove of Gonzalez and on out. So once a Cardinal, always a Cardinal, and Descalso tormenting the Dodgers as a Cardinal, and does it again. So first and third. Kyle Kendrick hit a ball out in front of the plate in the third inning. Stu Cole wants to continue to talk to him for the moment. You might expect the pitcher to stay out of the double play, try to sacrifice to put runners at second and third. Let's see if that's what Walt Weiss wants to do. Then you leave it up to a left-hand hitter, Charlie Blackmon. Kendrick showing bunt and takes a strike. That's the safest thing to do, is to have Kendrick just try to bunt Descalso to second base. Charlie Blackmon has struck out twice, but he has 14 RBIs, 5 home runs, and hitting in the middle 280s on deck. 0-1. Bolsinger off the rubber. 1 run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 3 hits for the Rockies. And another strike. 0-2. Descalso has a stolen base. Walt Weiss, we'll see if he puts it on again. You would have to believe that's the safest way to do it. Kendrick is played to pitch. Blackmon on deck is paid to hit. First and third, 1 out, 0-2. All right, he fouled it away and he is struck out. However, they still have the tying run 90 feet away.
Number 19, Charlie Blackmon.
So Charlie Blackmon coming up. 4 strikeouts for Bolsinger. Charlie struck out in the first, struck out in the third. Blackmon, as we mentioned at the start of the game, hitting .313 at Dodger Stadium. Charlie last night 0 for 4, hit by a pitch. He had 3 singles in the Kershaw game, and he had 1 hit in the Anderson game, and that's a strike. 0-1. Hundley at third, Descalso at first with 2 out. No balls and 1 strike to Charlie Blackmon. Dodgers lead 1-0. Off speed and off the plate. Charlie struck out on one of those changes, high and away. Just couldn't resist taking a whack at it and came up empty. And a strike, high strike. Charlie a little unhappy on that. 1 ball and 2 strikes as Bolsinger tries to work his way off the real first challenge that he's had today. First and third, 2 out. 1-0 Dodgers, 5th inning. Got him on a pitch away. Charlie chasing a bad ball, and he's angry and thrown out of the game. He's angry because the second strike was called. He felt that pitch was high. So being a human being, when he strikes out, he blames the umpire for the strikeout on the second strike. So Charlie's been kicked out. He's also struck out 3 times. Weiss is talking, and at the end of 4.5, 1-0 Dodgers. Southern California Toyota dealers. Save big on any 2015 Camry now at the Toyota Time Sales Event. Dodgers holding on to a 1-0 lead. Charlie Blackmon angered over the second strike, then swung out and struck out, and then naturally blaming the umpire for what he thought was a bad call on the second strike. It should also be duly noted in the minutes of the last meeting that Charlie Blackmon struck out all 3 at-bats today. So Rafael Inoa, who started the game in second base, is now in left field. G.J. LeMahieu is at second base, his normal spot. Bolsinger had to work hard, 18 pitches, but he survived. And now Guerrero to start it off against Kendrick. Ground ball hard, smothered at short. That man Descalso does it again. The only weakness Descalso shows in the series are his throws to first. A lot of them have a tendency to sail. That one took off. Great diving stop. And then the throw. And Rosario going up to toe dance and make the play. 1 away. Descalso has been saved several times by Willen Rosario. So 1 away. Here's Bolsinger. That's a strike. 1 run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 3 hits for the Rockies. Giants 1. Dodger lead for the moment 4. 1 ball and 1 strike. Chopper to the right side. LeMahieu just got in the game. He's a Gold Glove. Looks like he's wearing a Gold Glove. The other night when Miami was here, Christian Yelich, the left fielder, a Gold Glove, and his glove was glistening. And although you can't tell on television, if you're here in the ballpark, that glove looks yellow gold out there. Why not? Yep. Gold Glove Award winner at second base, DJ LeMahieu. Jock Peterson lined out to center, grounded to first, 0 for 2. Jock's fighting it now, hitting .237. Inoa, Carlos Gonzalez, and Nolan Arenado due up in the 6th inning. And a strike. Ground ball right to Rosario. So quickly, the Dodgers go 1-2-3. And at the end of 5, it remains Dodgers 1, Rockies nothing. The Dodgers went to Anaheim to play the Angels, and the Dodgers won the game 6-3. But what made it important and memorable were the 3 Dodger pitchers. The game started with Chan Ho Park. Then, after 4 innings, he was relieved by Hung-Chi Kuo. He went 4 innings, and the game finished up with Takashi Saito. That's right, Park, Kuo, and Saito, 3 Asian pitchers. First time Dodgers won it 6-3. Let's go back to this one. Dodgers trying to get by on 1 run. Inoue, Gonzalez, and Arenado coming up. And ball 1. So Bolsinger went 5 2/3 when he picked up his victory against Miami. Now he's into the 6th against Colorado. And immediately 2-0 to Inoue, who lined out to third and grounded to short. That's a strike. Now we have the normal prevailing breeze blowing left to right. That's the way it normally is. And a strike. Inoue sent down to Albuquerque and then called back yesterday. Got into the game as a pinch hitter last night and doubled. His double went to left field. Three and 2. Fouled away. Bolsinger threw 5 innings. Has allowed 1 hit to Descalso in the 3rd inning and another hit to Hundley and Descalso in the 5th inning. So 3 hits. He has hit a batter and he has walked 1. Fastball high, so he's walked 2.
Number 5, Carlos Gonzalez.
Inoue hasn't played enough to get any idea of whether he runs well or not. Here is Gonzalez. Twice he's hit ground balls to Howie Kendrick. The pitchers, Bolsinger has now made 75 pitches. Kendrick has made 69. That's a strike to Cargo. On deck, Nolan Arenado. And a drive to left. Going back is Guerrero. He's there to make the play. Back to first base goes Inoue. So Gonzalez, a fly ball to left, 1 down. And Nolan Arenado, the third baseman, coming up. Arenado grounded to third and was hit by a pitch. He's hit in 9 straight here at Dodger Stadium against the Dodgers. One out, 6th inning, 1-0 Dodgers. And a strike. Looked like Nolan was taken all the way. Yimi Garcia gets up in the Dodger bullpen. Arenado 6'1", 210. Only 24 years old. A little high, 1 ball and 1 strike. Nolan picked up a Gold Glove in 2013. And a drive to left, hooking down the line and goes foul. Arenado halfway to first. He had the idea. He just hit his 8th home run of the year, but he didn't. And he comes back, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Arenado has power along with his ability to field at third. Didn't miss by much. He had 18 home runs last year. Nolan is 6'1" and 210. Arenado with 19 RBIs, 8 of them coming with men in scoring position. He is in Noah at first with 1 out. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Hitting behind Arenado, Willen Rosario. Check swing, they're going to call it a strike. Arenado a little annoyed, walking away. So Arenado strikes out after just missing hitting a home run. 6 strikeouts for Mike Bolsinger. And now Marty Foster a little annoyed over the chirping coming out of the Colorado dugout. Charlie Blackmon already kicked out. Check swing as Arenado tries to drag the head of the bat, but it got out there. So 2 down. Here's Rosario, fly to right, pop to short. For the Dodger bullpen, with Garcia throwing, through last Sunday, the Dodger bullpen, almost 93 innings, had an earned run average of 1.8. This week, the Dodger bullpen through 16 innings has an earned run average of, hold your breath, 7. So the bullpen giving up that high an earned run average just this week. 1-1. Ground ball slowly to third, gobbled up by Turner. Plenty of time to get Rosario. So Bolsinger has done just what the Dodgers hoped he would do. He's given them a strong 6. And at the end, at 5.5 innings, it's still Dodgers 1, Rockies nothing. The next Backstage Dodgers follow one of our favorite people, team photographer John Suhu, as he reunites with former Dodgers at the Old Timers game. Don't miss Backstage Dodgers. That'll be Thursday at 7, only on Sportsnet LA. That'll be on the heels of Thursday afternoon's game, which will feature Clayton Kershaw against Madison Bumgarner. Jimmy Rollins, Howie Kendrick, Adrian Gonzalez. Right. Rollins hit back to the box, popped to short, 0 for 2. They load up against him on the right side. The outfield straightaway and not deep. Jimmy has 220 home runs. Mike Bolsinger in the Dodger dugout, and Jimmy Garcia is up again in the bullpen. Bolsinger has made 85 pitches, so the Dodgers will figure out he's still in the ball game, but they're going to back him up the moment he starts to hesitate. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2, pretty good fastball. Rosario, LeMahieu, Descalso, and Arenado. And then Inoa, Stubbs, and Gonzalez in the outfield. Hundley behind the plate. Ball 3. Kendrick has walked 2. He walked Howie Kendrick and Justin Turner. And ball 4. So the Dodgers get a leadoff man on. Not often in 6 innings. They've gotten a leadoff man only twice. Once Turner singled and was thrown out trying to steal, and now Rollins. Dodgers lead 1-0, and the batter Howie Kendrick with Adrian Gonzalez on deck. Watching Adrian Gonzalez warming up in the on-deck circle, it actually looked like he was practicing to uppercut a high pitch. At least watching his practice swing. Know if he'll do it again. Adrian lined out deep to center and singled. And a high fly ball that's playable to right. Gonzalez is there tagging up his Rollins, who will draw the throw and gets off a dandy.
Number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
So 1 out, and Adrian Gonzalez, who was swinging as if he were going after a high pitch and he was trying to uppercut it. Now he's more of a level swing, even if down a little bit. He just missed a home run in the 1st inning, and then wafted one to deep center for an out, and then last time up, single to center. Oh, and 1. Hitting back of him, Justin Turner. Dodgers lead 1-0, bottom of the 6th inning. 1 out. Jimmy Rollins at first base. Rollins drawing a throw. They're keeping an eye on him. You can bet. Rollins has 3 stolen bases, but he's also been caught 3 times. 0-1. Not going, and popped in the air foul. Coming over is Hundley, makes the catch. So Gonzalez fouls out, and Justin Turner coming up, and with 2 out now in this kind of a game, you're inclined to think that Jimmy Rollins, if a shot, if the door is open, he would certainly try to steal. Of course, in his great career, Rollins has stolen as many as 47 bases for the Phillies, admittedly 6 years ago, but even last year he stole 28. So if you are Kyle Kendrick, you are certainly going to keep an eye on Jimmy Rollins. Turner has singled and walked. Dodgers lead 1-0, bottom of the 6th. And time. It looked like Kendrick, although he was frozen, He was using his head, going back quickly, almost like a head fake, to try and keep Rollins on the bag. See if he does it again. Hands are set. Now watch the head. No movement. Though before that first pitch, that head twice went back. So Rollins trying to read him, although good base runners really concentrate on the hitter's feet. So intent upon watching Rollins. Kyle Kendrick is falling behind. 2 balls and no strikes. Kendrick in his career has won in double figures. Unfortunately for him, he would win in double figures and then he would lose in double figures. Kendrick, the last couple of years, 11 and 12, 10 and 13, 10 and 13. One and 4 coming into the game, 5 and 7 lifetime against the Dodgers. I think he's really worrying about Rollins, and now behind 3-0 to Turner. Jimmy held on by Rosario. The outfield straightaway, and Inoa fairly deep in left field. 3-0 to Turner. And ball 4. So 2 out, 2 walks, and the batter Yasmani Grandal, who singled in the only run in the game. He flied to center, single to right to cash in Gonzalez in the 4th inning. If you weren't with us, we're happy to show it to you. There's the base hit by the diving Inoa. And Adrian comes home to roost. So Chuck Hernandez out there talking to Kyle Kendrick. There has not been a ball thrown in the Colorado bullpen, but they are moving the furniture around. And here's Grandal. Fly to center, singled. Still not ready to get anybody up in the pen. 1-0 Dodgers, trying to get another one. They have Rollins at second, Turner at first, 2 out. And ball 1. By the way, as you can imagine, when you play a lot of games in Denver, you score a lot of runs. The Rockies have not been shut out. Not at home, once on the road. And ball 2. So Kendrick started by walking Rollins. I think he was really concerned about Rollins, and he wound up walking Turner, because with 2 out, Rollins might very well look for a chance to run. Now he's fallen behind a Grandal, 2-0. Yasmani has been such a hot hitter, they might green light him 2-0. Let's see. Nope. High for ball 3. Now what do you do with Grandal? Would you green light him 3-0? Probably not. You have Andre Ethier on deck. We'll see. 3 balls and no strikes, time. And they are going to get somebody up now in the bullpen. It'll be Ken Roberts, a left-hander, who will just now make his first throw down in the pen. 3-0 to Grandal with 2 on and 2 out. swung on, so they did green light him. He's so hot. 3-1 the count. Of course, you have a guy up there who had 8 RBIs in a game this year. Mike Piazza, in case you wonder, his best RBI game as a Dodger, he drove in 7. 3-1. 3-2. Kendrick, by the way, really stretching things here in the inning. He has not struck out a batter. So the Dodgers get the slight advantage. The runners will be going 3-2 with 2 out. Rollins at second, Turner at first. Runners go, and ball 4 to load them up. Well, they had that left-hander Ken Roberts up for a good reason in the pen. Andre Ethier coming up with the bases loaded. Ethier grounded out. Last time up, hit a long fly ball for an out to left field. So Ken Roberts will not be brought in. They will stay with Kendrick, who, among other things, is due to bat 4th when the Rockies come up in the 7th. So Rollins, Turner, Grandal all out there on walks. Andre Ethier with 4 slams in his career. The last one against Seattle back in 2012. 0-1 to Andre. Kendrick had flied to right. Gonzalez had fouled out. But Rollins walked to open the inning. Turner and Grandal have walked to load him up. Dodgers trying to increase a very tough 1-0 lead. Oh, 1. And a drive to center. Out there is Stubbs, reaches up and makes the catch. So I'll tell you one thing, Walt Weiss stayed with Kendrick. With the bases loaded, wild as the March hare as he was, with a left-hander throwing in the pen, the skipper stayed with the right-hander and got away with it. No runs, no hits, 3 left at the end of 6, 1-0 Dodgers. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Nissan. Get to Nissan's ride of your life for exciting performance and surprising offer. Shop at ChooseNissan.com. And by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Use promo code BLUECREW for free entry. Dodgers scored a run way back in the 4th inning with 2 out. Gonzalez singled, Turner walked, and Grandal singled in the run, and that is it. A great 6 innings for Mike Bolsinger. They give the ball now to Yimi Garcia as once again the Dodgers get into the bullpen. He will be facing Nick Hundley, Drew Stubbs, and Daniel Descalso. So Garcia has done so well. Coming in now, asked to get some outs. Walked 7, struck out 27. Hundley has walked and singled. One run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 3 hits for Colorado. Yimi from Mocha in the Dominican Republic, 6'1", 175. 24 years old, be 25 the middle of August. Fastball, strike, 0-1. Hundley with that base hit, lifting his average up to 315. 0-1. Strike. Hundley never hit like that with San Diego. One year he hit 157, but he did have one big year, 288. There's Adam Lieberthal throwing down in the pen. Lieberthal backing up Garcia. And Hundley goes down. So Hundley takes that long walk back to the dugout. 1 out in the 7th. 7 Rockies have struck out. Of course, the other night, 18 Rockies struck out. Last night, 8 bit the dust. Rockies with 7 strikeouts tonight. Let's just see where that puts them. And a little out quickly on Drew Stubbs. So Stubbs goes 0 for 3. And the batter will be Daniel Descalso, who is 2 for 2. The Rockies have struck out 278 times. To compare that, the Dodgers 272. There are those, I remember hearing about this years ago, who would say that the Rockies do well at home hitting because they hit a little different in the rarefied air, trying to get the ball up in the air. And then they come back out on the road, and that same swing that's successful in Denver is not successful on the road. I have no idea whether they're right, but that was a theory when the Rockies first started. One ball and 1 strike, Daniel Descalso. Boy, he's been a pain in the neck to the Dodgers. Dodgers thought and sighed in relief when Tulowitzki came out, but Descalso has done very well. 1-1. Fastball fouled away. Yimi hits 94. Descalso 5'10" and just about 190. He'll be 29 years old in October. Got a piece of it. Fouled away. Mike Bolsinger gave the Dodgers what they needed. A strong 6. Made 85 pitches. One ball, 2 strikes. And they finally get Descalso on the strikeout. So 2 strikeouts for Yimmy, 8 strikeouts total for the Dodgers. And we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. It's still 1-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the 7th inning, Dodgers holding on to a 1-0 lead. And talk about holding on. Kyle Kendrick did just that in the 6th inning. Kendrick walked 3, and they allowed him to stay in. They had a left-hander throwing in the bullpen. They let him face Ethier, and they got away with it. Ethier hit the ball right on the button and lined out to Stubbs in center field. Kendrick is due to lead off in the 8th inning. So this figures certainly to be his last inning of work. Guerrero has flied to center, grounded to short, takes a strike. Scott Van Slyke now comes out on deck. He would bat for Garcia. Chris Hatcher is throwing in the Dodger bullpen. Garcia made 9 pitches to strike out 2. That's a strike. So Guerrero in a hole now. No balls and 2 strikes. The only run back in the 4th inning, and it came with 2 out. Gonzalez singled, Turner walked, and Grandal singled home Gonzalez, and that's it. High pop fly. It'll be Descalso, although LeMahieu comes over, but Descalso says, nope, I've got it. They'll 1 away. Now Van Slyke coming up to hit for Garcia. Scotty having a great year for the Dodgers, hitting .313, 2 home runs, 14 runs batted in, and he's a corner outfielder. He can play left or right. And he slaps one down the right field line, slicing as it goes, foul and into the seats. Van Slyke, as a pinch hitter, is 2 for 5 with 2 runs batted in. Dodgers home tonight for home cooking. Leave tomorrow for a quick visit to San Francisco. Tuesday and Wednesday nights, Thursday afternoon. Colorado, they go home to Denver, where the weather has been miserable, and they'll open up tomorrow night against Philadelphia. Fastball. Paid attendance tonight or today 44,990. 44,990. 48-3 last night, 46-6 the game before, 42-6 first game. And down goes Van Slyke. So 2 out in the 7th inning. Jock Peterson coming up. For Kyle Kendrick, by the way, that strikeout coming after all his pitches, 95 of them. That's his first strikeout today. Nationals are not striking out. They're pounding the Padres again, 7-2 in the 6th inning. Peterson lined out to center twice, has grounded to first baseman Willen Rosario. Jock 0 for 3. Ball 1. Looking ahead, the 8th inning, there'll be a hitter for Kendrick, then LeMahieu and Inoa. Remember, Blackman kicked out of the game. That's a strike. One ball and one strike to Jock Peterson. Fastball pulled wide of first, under one glove, but caught by another, and they get the out. Rosario couldn't get it, but LeMahieu, the Gold Glove, did, and the play goes 4-1. Peterson retired. The Dodgers go 1-2-3, and at the end of 7, it's still 1-0 Dodgers. The game on the head of a pin. Adrian Gonzalez singled and eventually came around to score on a base hit by Grandal. Mike Bolsinger pitched a very strong 6th. Then Garcia pitched the 7th, and Chris Hatcher coming in to pitch the 8th. Corey Dickerson, who has a bad foot, will be coming in. Van Slyke, who batted for Garcia, stays in the game in left field. So Hatcher will go in Alex Guerrero's spot, and we move to the 8th. Dickerson, a very, very good hitter facing Chris Hatcher. Dickerson has the plantar fasciitis, bothered him in spring training, bothered him just last night, going after a ball in left center that was caught by Blackman. Corey put the brakes on, and the foot barked, and he had to come out. But he's a good hitter, batting .312. By the way, that was a very great job turned in by Kyle Kendrick for 7 innings. And ball one. Kendrick wound up making 98 pitches. He was wild, but he was tough. Boone Logan, the left-hander, throwing in the bullpen. One ball and one strike. Corey Dickerson is out of Mississippi. Last year at Colorado Springs, he hit 385, so they thought, well, we best bring him up. And he came up and he hit 312. Now hitting that same number as he checks in. Dickerson, then LeMahieu and Inoue. 1-0 Dodgers, each side with 3 hits. Good fastball at 96. Must be awfully hard to be sitting in the dugout, and a couple of hours later they ask you to go up and you're swinging at 96-mile-an-hour fastball. 1-2. Two years ago, Dickerson was hit by a pitch that broke his nose. That was back in July of 2012. Normally you would say Corey Dickerson has above average speed, but I wouldn't think so right now with a sore puppy. Dickerson is the student watching and listening to Justin Morneau. Still 1-2. Corey was drafted twice by the Rockies. Finally went in the second round. Another wonderful athlete. Played baseball, football, and basketball, a star in each. At Brookhaven Academy in Mississippi. He's 6'2" and 210. And uppercuts one, foul ball, off third. Looking, waiting, his turn. So Dickerson fouls out, 1 down in the 8th inning. DJ LeMahieu has been struggling, so they sat him down in favor of playing Inoue. But when Charlie Blackmon was kicked out of the game, Inoue had to go to left field because Dickerson can't run on the bad foot. And LeMahieu coming up. LeMahieu, a Gold Glove second baseman. 0-1. LeMahieu hitting .318. He has a home run, 16 runs batted in. 0-2. Three for 12 in the series. Foul back. LeMahieu earlier had a 9-game hitting streak. First home run that he hit this year was right here at Dodger Stadium back in April. To be exact, on Saturday the 18th of April. Liberatore is up again in the Dodger pen. Hatcher didn't like the last one, got a new ball. Liberatore, meanwhile, up and loosening up. No balls, 2 strikes. Fastball just missed. That was a 97-mile-an-hour echo. Take another look. Nice, easy delivery, and wham, just off the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Another fastball. Why not when you're throwing 97, 96? 1-2. LeMahieu was off to a great start. The month of April, he hit 400. And another fastball fouled away. So the last 3 pitches have been 97, 96, 96. And he's still up there. LeMahieu, accustomed to winning, Inoue on deck. DJ was on the LSU team that won the College World Series in 2009. He hit .350 for LSU that year. As he said, the best moment of my life. Well, he'll have plenty of them. LeMahieu has hit exceptionally well at one stage, hitting .377 against right-handers, struggling against left-handers. Looks at strike 3 call. So LeMahieu goes down. That is the 8th Rocky to go down in the series.
Number 43, Rafael Inoue.
And the batter now, Rafael Inoue. Of course, they hit the jackpot the other night when 18 Rockies struck out. Fouled away. Inoue started at second base, finishing up in left field. Lined out to third, grounded to short, and walked. Rockies able to get the leadoff man on base 3 times in 8 innings. In the 5th inning, they not only got the leadoff man aboard, they got him to third. Kendrick tried to bunt, struck out, and Blackmon struck out. Charlie struck out and was kicked out. 1 ball and 1 strike to Rafael Inoue. 2-1. Rafael from Santiago in the Dominican Republic. He's an even 6, 185. Signed in the Dodger organization back in 2005. On the corner. Walt Weiss, in talking about Inoue, said reminds him of Jonathan Herrera, another switch hitting utility man who spent a good 5 years with the Rockies. 2-2. And got him, strike 3. The Hatcher comes in, strikes out 2. That's 9 Rockies to strike out. And we're going to the bottom of the 8th inning. It's still 1-0 Dodgers. Sports Service celebrating 13 years. You can watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in True HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices with real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widgets, and so much more. Blackout restrictions apply. So visit MLB.tv for details. Boone Logan will pick up for Kyle. Logan, a left-hander out of San Antonio. Big fella, 6'5", 220. And originally drafted by the Chicago White Sox. So Kendrick went 7 tough innings and allowed 1 run, 3 hits through 7. Rollins, Kendrick, and Gonzalez. Jimmy Rollins 0 for 2 with a walk and a strike. Boone Logan, a professional pitcher, didn't pitch in high school until he was a senior. Then he went to Temple College, where he really learned how to pitch from Craig McMurtry, who pitched 8 years, mostly with the Braves. Down in the pen, Kenley Jansen. Jansen, remember, came in, made his debut big time, striking out 4 in 1 inning. Jansen struck out 4 in 1 inning, and then in the 8th inning last night, Santos wound up giving up 3 runs in the inning, but also striking out 4. Colorado, it's amazing watching them swing and miss. Foul back, 1-2. The Colorado Rockies in 4 games, and they still have the 9th inning. They've struck out 52 times, averaging 13 strikeouts a game. So maybe that's true, what the experts were telling me when the Rockies first started back in 1993. They swing one way at home, try to keep that swing on the road, and it doesn't work. Pop fly to LeMahieu, 1 away. Wow, 52. And of course, the highlight, or maybe low light, the fact that they struck out 18 times in one of the games. For the Rockies in the 9th inning, they'll have Gonzalez. He is not struck out. They have Arenado, who has struck out once, and they have Rosario, who has not struck out. Howie Kendrick walked, grounded out, fly to right, 0 for 2. Dodgers clinging to a 1-0 lead. Ball 1. And ball 2. Boone Logan is a rancher. He's from San Antonio. He says, my place is only 500 acres. The Rio Seco Ranch, which means dry river in Spanish. Ball 3. Boy, we know about Rio Seco here. Basically for Boone, fastball, slider. Picked up a little extra velocity, dropping his arm angle. Fastball on the corner, and he hits 92. Kendrick with Gonzalez on deck. The Dodger hits. Gonzalez a single, Turner a single, Grandal a single. That's going to go foul. Grandal's single was the big one. Drove in the only run of the game. Well, Yasmani has singled and walked. The base hit came and drove in Gonzalez. 1 run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 3 hits for the Rockies. 3-2. Fouled away. That run, the only precious run in the game, occurred back in the 4th inning. We're now in the bottom of the 8th. And a foul ball down the line. 44,990. Dodgers heading for San Francisco. Tuesday night, Carlos Frias and Tim Hudson. Wednesday night, Brett Anderson and Tim Lincecum. Thursday afternoon, Clayton Kershaw and Madison Bumgarner. Fastball, half swing, Howie goes down. So 2 out in the 8th. Adrian Gonzalez coming up. By the way, the Nationals are doing it again to the Padres. Boy, they have knocked them from pillar to post. And the Nationals lead the Padres 10-3 in the 7th inning. Padres in 3rd place began the day 5 games behind the Dodgers. Giants 4.5. Adrian lined to deep center after just missing hitting the left field foul pole for a home run. Right. Then with 2 out in the 4th, he singled and scored the only run of the game. Last time up, fouled out. No balls, 1 strike. In on the knuckles, 1 ball, 1 strike. To repeat, 9th inning, the Rockies will have Carlos Gonzalez, Nolan Arenado, Willen Rosario. Some pretty good hitters. Inside, tough pitch. 2 balls and 1 strike. Logan, who used to pitch directly over the top, has increased his success, dropping the arm, as we said. 3-1 to count to Gonzalez. Howie Kendrick walked 5, 3 in the 6th inning, but he still pitched a great 7 innings. And there's ball 4. So Boone Logan with 2 out, walking Gonzalez. Gonzalez had the base hit with 2 out and scored the only run. So we'll see what happens now with 2 out. Justin Turner, single to left, was later thrown out trying to steal. Walked in the 4th inning and walked again in the 6th. All those at-bats were against Kyle Kendrick. Fastball, a ground ball to LeMahieu, quick little flip to Descalso, and that's it. No runs, no hits, a man left, and we are heading to the 9th. Looks like Kenley Jansen is too. And it's Dodgers 1, Rockies nothing. Inning. Remember the other night in the Clayton Kershaw game when Kenley Jansen made his debut? He started out by striking Carlos Gonzalez, but the pitch got away for a pass ball. So he turned around to strike out Hundley. Then he went on to get Stubbs. He wasn't finished then when he finally struck out LeMahieu. So he struck out 4 batters in 1 inning, which was his debut for 2015. With Jansen and Santos striking out 4 in 1 inning, it's rather remarkable in one series to see that. So that makes 74 pitchers to have done it. And remember, Jansen wears number 74. 3 of the pitchers have done it more than once. Chuck Finley did it 3 times. A.J. Burnett twice. Zach Greinke did it twice, once with the Angels, once with the Dodgers. But what was interesting, it happened here in 2 games from 1916 to 1956. 50 years. It did not happen at all. They'll leave it to the Dodgers to do that. So here we are in the 9th. 1-0 favor the Dodgers. Carlos Gonzalez, who can tie it with a swing. 2 ground balls and a fly ball to left. And ball 1. All we had heard and read about, the Dodgers were saying, we're not going to make Kenley come in a tough spot. We're going to kind of ease it along for him. So they brought him in the 7th inning the other night. Now they want him to close today. 1-1 to Cargo. Let's look at the matchups. Kenley Jansen facing Carlos Gonzalez. Coming into the series, Gonzalez was hitting .286 against him, 2 for 7. Struck him out the other night. One and 2. Take another look at the pitch. You expect everything to come up there 95. That time it just ran on the outside corner. Struck him out on an explosive fastball in the 8th inning. Foul back. Throwing 94. That was a high fastball the other night. It went off the glove of Yasmani Grandal, and Gonzalez reached first. But then Hundley and Stubbs and LeMahieu all struck out to give him the 4. 1-2. Foul ball down the line. .52 Rockies have struck out in 4 games, averaging 13 strikeouts a game. Gonzalez, Arenado, and Rosario due up here in the 9th. 1-0 Dodgers. And a fly ball going foul, out of play. Gonzalez, coming into today's game, had 5 hits in his last 17 at bats. Hit his 4th home run of the year yesterday in the 1st inning. So he is 5 for his last 20. 1-2. 2-2. The crowd groans. Naturally, they want every pitch a strike. 1 run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 3 hits for the Rockies. Rockies got 1 man to 3rd. That was Hundley in the 5th inning. 2-2. High pop up coming down from 3rd is Turner. He has the play and makes the catch. So one down in the ninth inning on the pop fly. Nolan Arenado grounded to third, hit by a pitch, struck out, almost hit a home run last time up. Ball just went foul down the line. Arenado 7 home runs, 19 runs batted in. He has hit safely in 9 of the 12 games played in May, but not today. And he does have a 9-game hitting streak here at Dodger Stadium. And a pop fly right side. It'll be Kendrick. So Jansen came in, struck out 4 in 1 inning the other night. Comes in here in the 9th and gets pop flies. Carlos Gonzalez and Nolan Arenado. So standing in the way of a 1-0 victory is Willen Rosario. Rosario flied to right, popped to short, grounded to third. For the Rockies, they are faced with being shut out the second time this year. Both shutouts, understandably, on the road. You pitch a shutout in Denver, you're really doing something, which made Hideo Nomo's no-hitter in the rain in Denver a truly remarkable effort. 0-1 the count to Willen Rosario. 0-2. So the Dodgers trying to wind up a 7-game homestand above 500. If they can hold on to it, they will have won 4 of the 7. They would have split the 4 with Colorado. (0-2). Crowd on its feet. Got him. So Kenley Jansen ties a ribbon on the package. A strikeout for the last out. Wouldn't you know? It means he made 12 pitches, and Colorado had 53 strikeouts in the series. Pretty hard to win, and today they didn't. Dodgers 1 run, 3 hits. The Rockies no runs, 3 hits. The winning pitcher and the player of the game, Mike Bolsinger, they gave the Dodgers a strong 6 innings. Well, that'll do it for today. A reminder, Tuesday night, it'll be the Giants and the Dodgers at AT&T Park. Carlos Frias and Tim Hudson. Wednesday night, Anderson and Lincecum. And Thursday afternoon, Kershaw and Bumgarner. That'll do it for today. We wish you all a very pleasant good afternoon, everybody.